is a form of art that has been around for centuries. It is used as a form of entertainment. People listen to music to relax, dance, or simply enjoy the sound of it. And in a deeper sense, it has also been used to raise awareness about important issues, such as poverty and war. But at the same time it can inspire people to take action and make a difference in the world and within themselves. In conclusion, music is a powerful and versatile art form that can be used for a variety of purposes. And over time it has changed and improved upon itself, resulting in something bigger that has now become a part of our daily lives. And recently, music has reached its peak in every way thanks to this one reason. It is the pinnacle of entertainment, artistry, originality, and overall quality, and it will never be surpassed by anyone or anything that comes after it. And of course, I'm talking about K-pop girl groups. Girl groups have been a staple of popular music for decades, and their impact on the industry is undeniable. Girl groups have had a lasting impact on popular music, have created some of the most iconic songs and moments in music history, and have helped to break down barriers, empower women, and inspire lots and lots of people. Throughout history they've given us everything we needed, and right now the K-pop industry is doing everything about girl groups the right way. Well, maybe not everything, but for the most part I could say the girl group scene in K-pop is the best it's been. I don't think there was a moment in the past year where any of the girls underwhelmed. Maybe a few here and there, but if we look at it in a bigger picture, I have never been more satisfied in my life. I don't usually follow every group's release schedule or anything like that, but if you told me GWSN is undisbanding tomorrow and releasing a new album, I bet you I will be there first in the line. Known or unknown, big three or not, I just love listening to girl groups. And recently, the scene has never been more delightful to witness. The land of girl groups has never been more leveled than ever before. That one newdo group you don't give a shit about is most likely releasing Ariana levels of pop excellence and you wouldn't know. What I'm trying to say is whether newdo or not these girl groups will eat. Let's take a look at some of them real quick. It hasn't even been a month since their debut and already they've shattered me to the core. A girl group of such talents and style would usually be found under one of the bigger companies, but we're obviously way past that. There used to be a time when newdo groups had uninspired music and had zero to no distinct style. There was always an obvious barrier between newdo and the big ones, but these days that barrier is almost gone. This group offers something unique, and makes use of all their talents to create good music and impressive performances. Kiss of Life may not be enough to convince you, so let's take a look at this other group.
Tell me everything that you like, looking at you like you know you're watching me, yeah. Knew their face to walk at you.
You might be laughing at me right now thinking who the fuck doesn't know this group. But I swear to God before Cupid was released no one gave a shit about 50/50. And of course being me I don't just confine myself to what I know and like. So one day I discovered this group and my whole life started making sense. Obviously that was an over-exaggeration, but on that day something clicked. I realized that labels aren't what makes artists known, but rather the art itself. Sure, labels help a lot in catapulting most groups, and fans will eat up anything slapped with these logos, but in the end of the day art is the one that prevails. An average listener won't just be looking for a shiny Hybe logo. If the music hits, it will be a hit. Just look at Cupid, one of if not the biggest pop song of the year so far, and they all came from nothing. And it's not like this is a one-hit wonder situation. If you listen to their previous music it's very similar, if not, even better than Cupid. This proves that as long as the company plays their cards right, you have a star group under you. A few more groups I'd like to mention would be S and CSR. Both groups may not be the greatest, but their consistency really sells them regardless. I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually attain greater success in the future. Maybe not world famous levels of success, but definitely more than what they are expected to achieve. Girl groups have always been the precious gems of pop culture. I don't know very much about the first few groups in K-pop as I didn't really grow up with them, but from what I've heard they were the hottest thing back in the day. I wished I got to experience the rise of this genre along with everyone at the time. I'm sure I would have loved them as much as I do with the current ones now. Though I might have not been there, I do see the influence they've made with the next generations.
똑바로 해. 난 정말 bad boy.
Now here's an era of music that I remember and loved dearly with my heart. In my opinion, the early 2010s was a time where pop music was at its peak. Either Asian or Western, this shit was popping everywhere, but it was K-pop girl groups that really defined that era for me. These groups you're seeing right now made that time so enjoyable, and honestly changed my life for the better. First of all, the music was banging. It's almost like there was a universal law that if you were releasing any song during these times it just had to be a banger. Car radios, music festivals, family gatherings, were never the same during this era. I was in elementary school during those times and was just developing an ear for music. I don't want to be dramatic, but I'm thankful I grew up in it because it really changed me forever. Growing up as a boy, I've always thought being a man means only doing manly things or else you aren't one. Every boy around me was playing sports and I wasn't, or doing whatever a boy should do. And being a kid, I was scared shitless, leading me to ponder where do I really belong, and what am I allowed to do. Then one day my sister decided to put on some Girls' Generation, specifically the song playing right now, and that somehow changed my life forever. It made me realize that 1, I fucking love music, and 2, I can like anything I want. I myself am still a man, but instead of doing men shit or what else, I loved listening to music, and specifically this girl pop stuff. Those were my earliest signs of being obsessed with this genre, and a few years after that I eventually drowned in it. I always thought girl groups always had the power to appeal to so many that doesn't just limit to young girls. Everyone, and I mean everyone on this earth, could easily get into K-pop, and I just can't thank these groups enough for catapulting K-pop into its state right now. But what makes girl groups so much more appealing anyway? Well, there are a lot of things. Let's go by them one by one, shall we? I think the biggest thing that separates K-pop girl groups and boy groups is the way the girls are more interesting. Don't get me wrong, boy groups are in fact capable of variety and creative concepts, but if we look at it from a wider perspective, most, if not all, the girls just do it more and honestly better. Billlie is a group I just adore so much these days that it's almost like I stan them. In this new set of groups, I don't think anyone touches them when it comes to their quirkiness and genius. That's one thing I always loved about this genre, and Billlie pushes it to its limits. From their songs to their concepts to their lore, this group just exceeds all the restraints K-pop has had for the past few years. K-pop groups have been rehashing the same and exciting concepts for years now thanks to the industry's inevitable growth around the world. Yes, it does help more people to tune in, but where's all the flavor? Where's the fun in all that? Well, in comes Billlie, a group who unapologetically give us the maximum vivacity of this genre. I mean, who else gives us an original soundtrack for their short film? Just look at these titles, man, they are actually crazy. No, but in all seriousness, I think this group, though it may not seem to be, has retained a big characteristic of K-pop that has been lost for a while. Groups like Red Velvet and FX may not be the hottest groups today, but during their time they gave this genre a unique palette, and I am thankful for a group like Billlie who continues to give us a taste. They don't do it just for the sake of blatant creativity, but there's a perfect balance between fun and quality, which is something I see most struggle with these days. That being said, you don't have to be so innovative to make a stand in this industry. Take a look at nxde, a hip-hop/R&B girl group consisting of all Japanese members, and in my opinion one of K-pop's most controversial groups in recent memory. First of all, not everyone considers them a K-pop group, and here's what I have to say. nxde is a K-pop group as much as they are a global girl group, maybe even more so. They have K-pop producers, they are trained by K-pop instructors and choreographers, they promote on Korean music shows, their content literally matches that of any other K-pop group out there, and so on and so forth. Second of all, this group revolves around a genre that isn't so well received by fans. K-pop's version of hip-hop isn't really the most impressive thing to see, with a few exceptions of course. On paper, a hip-hop centered girl group full of Japanese members based in Korea sounds like a disaster in the making. But honestly, they did kind of well. I know it's been debated whether this group is either an appreciation or appropriation of black culture, and I myself am not black, so I don't think I have a say on this matter. But if I were to evaluate the group's overall quality, I think this group does it great, maybe even better than most. I mean, just look at these videos, absolutely satisfying to the eyes, and as someone who appreciates these things, this is just pure orgasm for me. The music itself is so well made too. Like if you just disregard English as a language, and enjoy the sounds as it is, it itself sounds so clean and crispy. nxde may not be from one of the big companies, but it sure does feel like it. The content they produce has a Midas touch in where it's just all pure gold. It's obvious that their company has a vision and they are dead set on achieving it. That absolute quality through and through. But let's say nxde isn't enough to convince you. You know who else in the girl group world has that true understanding of quality? I just can't take anyone who hates aespa seriously. In just the music aspect alone, aespa clears 80% of K-pop acts in the industry. If there's one thing SM Entertainment knows, that would obviously not be artist management, but rather music production. Hate it or love it, we all know very well aespa makes good to great music. Sure, maybe not all of it is also good, but even God had to rest. And how could I forget about this absolute service to the United States of Korea? Like this was genuinely one for the books. No other concept photos can come this close. And of course that whole Kwangga and SM universe stuff that for some reason some fans hate. To me that shit is cool and I hope they continue to expand on it with a little more consistency. And if I somehow haven't proven my point yet, I have 2 more groups to present. They literally dropped 2 album of the year contenders in just the span of 3 months. Y'all really don't understand how lucky we are to have these albums in the palm of our hands, to just listen to whenever and wherever we want. These 2 know how to make great pop music, which if you haven't already been paying attention, is the core of this genre. Hybe is literally album of the year contender and I'm kind of sad not everyone is listening to it. I mean, we all know this group, right? They had the craziest run I've ever seen in this genre. From their debut, to even their latest song for Pepsi of all things. This group just doesn't know how to miss. You know the music is good when bitches on stan Twitter drag them in everything but the music. Even those who aren't fans of Hybe appreciate how well made their songs are, because it is just that good. Listen to any of these songs once, just once, and I assure you you'll either like it or just respect the genuinely good music you just heard. Most groups don't do Japanese releases justice, cause it's usually just some rejected title track for them. But for Hybe, it might even be better. I don't know if this continuous wave of amazing music is intentional or not, but I am very sure of the statement that these girls never disappoint. Well, maybe that one song, but for 99% of the time this group just does music so well that I can't complain. Speaking of 9, let's look at this other group. Fromis 9, even after the many companies they've been under, has barely released any bad songs. Unlock My World is literally a flawless project if you ask me, and I just can't explain it to you because you'd have to listen to it to really feel it. This album, this magnum opus, is not merely good, but an extraordinary marvel that transcends the boundaries of art and touches the very essence of humanity. It is a transcendent symphony of creativity, an exquisite dance of emotions, and an unparalleled masterpiece that will forever remain etched in the annals of musical excellence. Or in other words, this album fucking slaps. Sometimes I feel so blessed listening to any of these songs that I just have to sit back and just appreciate life itself. I think many K-pop fans aren't appreciative enough of the content given to us. Once you take a break, only then you'll realize how lucky we are to have all of this. And of course, as most artists, the music can hit us in ways more than we expect. Other than money and artistic expression, every one of these girl groups make music solely for the listener's entertainment. And maybe not all of them, but some take it to a deeper level. Music has the ability to touch and influence us on multiple levels, and a few use this power to empower their fans, enriching their experiences and their lives as a whole. A group like Idol would be perfect for this topic. Idol has always been directly involved with their music, and considering all the themes and messages they've conveyed with their songs, it just feels more personal and impactful to the listeners, knowing that these are coming from their own ideas and experiences in life. That may not seem much to most, but to me that's just so powerful and genuine, which is something I can't say for other groups. I may not be the biggest fan of theirs, but I will always respect their courage and the importance of what they stand for. Even other groups who don't have that much influence on their own songs are still capable of impacting listeners. Loona's Butterfly isn't a song made by them, but it still remains to be one of K-pop's most beautiful songs ever made. The song's lyrics are reflective and poetic, with an underlying theme of personal strength. The song's emotional depth contributes to its beauty, resonating strongly with listeners, as the members sing about breaking free from limits and accepting their genuine selves. It's so simple, but also so masterfully done that it just hits much more than it should. Lesserafim is a relatively newer group compared to the others, but even in just that 1 year their discography has proven not only to be great docs, but also songs with depth and meaning behind it. I made a whole video on it if you'd like to know what that meaning could be. This may be a shameless plug, but trust me, that video may open your eyes to some things. Being personal with music isn't a new concept at all, but the fact it can hide behind a pop song that you wouldn't even notice at first just completes the experience. One day you're dancing around, and the other day you're crying to it, but both days are important, and that is the true beauty of it all. Take a look at NewJeans. Who and their mother has not been listening to their music? Like, let's be real here. What makes them so great is how they appeal to the general masses, and by general masses I simply mean everyone. All things I've mentioned on why I love girl groups so much are present with them. They got the good music with feelings, they got the fame and impact, they got the quality production, they got that uniqueness to them, and honestly if it weren't for their young ages and sketchy CEO, they might just be the best girl group out right now. And you can't really disagree with me because they've proven it, and all the people who are tuned to them proves it. To me, they are the culmination of what every K-pop girl group before them has done. Everything they've started, created, revolutionized, has led up to this moment. I'm not saying this literally, by the way, I mean it more figuratively. Everything that made girl groups so adored is basically this group's core value, and they might be even adding more to it. That's always been something girl groups have been good at. Love them or not, you'll recognize them. NewJeans is still pretty young, and I know they have a lot more to show us. And in 10 years or so, they will be the face of their time. Like the Spice Girls were in the 90s, or Destiny's Child in the early 2000s. They will be an inspiration for many aspiring artists to come in the future, just like how the ones before were for them. Girl groups are just that iconic. Everything I just said doesn't limit to just the current generation. I'm talking for every single one of those girl groups I've listened to during my years. Even after their prime, they are still out here enhancing their already solid footing in the industry. Some are still releasing music, rebranding themselves even after all these years, touring all around the world, selling out stadiums, and so on and so forth. Even idols who debuted way back during the first generation are still out here going strong, even better than ever. And for those who have reached their unavoidable end, they still remain significant to this day due to the impact they had on everyone else. It could be to a few hundreds or a whole million people, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They've provided so much fun and memorable experiences that have changed many lives significantly or not, and I just can't thank them enough for it. I just have huge appreciation for these girls and the people working behind them. Not only do they give us solid entertainment, but they can also provide a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. If you ever got the idea during this video that I hate boy groups, just know that I don't. But respectfully speaking, I don't think boy groups will ever give me the same level of experience like how the girls did. I could literally be on my deathbed and I'd still be excited for the next Red Velvet comeback. They've honestly impacted my life so much that I can't imagine who I'd be without them. They've taught me many lessons that have shaped who I am today. And above all, it has been great listening to their music during my highest and lowest points in life. Girl groups may not always have the biggest fanbases ever, but I do know for a fact everyone enjoys listening to them. In a way, they are the backbones of the industry. I really can't believe this genre would do so well if it weren't for them. They may not all be in the same level of greatness and quality, some may have reached higher peaks than others, and some probably aren't even known by most of us. But as a collective, I can say their effect on the music industry is substantial, and their legacy will forever live on. The girls are here to stay, and I know I'll be here with them.